From the studios of the WBCR radio station, it's the Bret and Sean Show. All right. Welcome to the afternoon drive with Bret and Sean. It's a beautiful Wednesday here in New York City, aside from the air quality, which has returned. And Frank will give us an update on that in a minute here. But in the studio, we've got Frank working both the board and the phones. We've got Louis Flecha on the camera filling in for Jessica, as she will be back with us next week. Thank you for being here, Louis. And to my right, co-host Mr. Sean Markisic. To the people at home, your left. But we're going to introduce a brand new segment here today. Obviously, we had Eamon McEnany here last week, so we couldn't do that. But it's the Let's Be Frank segment. So, Frank, how the hell are you? What do you got for us?
I'm doing great, Bret. So, hello, everyone. It's great to be back on the Bret and Sean show. Well, I could have said that last week, but I couldn't due to the interview. But, yeah, it's great to be back here from Indiana. Indiana was great. Total different experience from here in New York. There were many houses. Not much of a pedestrian friendly to walk on concrete, and also no public transportation. So if you want to go anywhere, you have to go by car. So some of the headlines, yes, as they brought it up, the air quality. Well, I thought that I was going to escape from the air quality to Indiana, but no, it was smoky. So until I got back, it got better. But with today, got to be careful with the air quality. If you plan on going out, consider wearing a mask. Not me, but it's for your safety.
All right. It's very hot out there too, Frank.
It is. I was like, do I need a sweater? No. Because if I bought my sweater, I would have been sweating.
Hydrate as well.
Yeah, hydrate as well. And then, so some of the other headlines too. Indiana Colts. I was actually watching the local news there in Indiana. And then when I heard the name Rodgers, the first thing that came up, like Aaron Rodgers, he's not part of the Colts. He's from the New York Jets. So here's what happened.
Today suspended 2 Indianapolis Colts players indefinitely for violating the league's gambling policy. The Colts then waived defensive end Rashad Berry and cornerback Isaiah Rodgers. Berries and Rodgers received indefinite suspensions through at least this season for betting on NFL games in 2022. They won't be able to seek reinstatement until the 2023 season ends. Colts GM Chris Ballard released a statement affirming the decision to waive the players was due to gambling violations and that the integrity of the game is of the utmost importance.
That was ABC's affiliate WRTV out of Indianapolis. So what are your thoughts that the NFL was going all out over gambling?
Well, no surprise there, Frank. We saw with Calvin Ridley. He's a star in the NFL. Those two guys, kind of nobodies. No one cares about them. They're irrelevant. So are the Colts. Haven't been relevant since Peyton Manning. That's just the reality. Andrew Luck, you might say that. But look, blew the biggest lead, one of the biggest leads in NFL history to the Kansas City Chiefs. Many would say the beginning of Patrick Mahomes. So, to be honest with you, Frank, I'm not surprised at all. Roger Goodell is very vocal about this, and they're against gambling. It's a bad look. And look, the Colts are irrelevant, and nobody knows who those guys are, so it is what it is.
And I honestly think, yes, you said these guys are irrelevant, and they are, but this is going to happen to big marquee names too if they are having to do this, because a guy like Roger Goodell, once he says something, that's it. It's not like a guy like Adam Silver, who's kind of not flaky, but more player friendly, whereas Roger Goodell is more strict with what he wants.
Yeah, definitely more lenient, Adam Silver, I would say. But like I mentioned earlier, we saw with Calvin Ridley, a star player in the league, so when you have two guys like this, it is what it is. Life goes on. What else you got for us, Frank?
Yeah, but then the last one, before I send it back to Bret, while I was on vacation, there was a little incident here at the Bret and Sean show, a dispute between our very own two hostess, Bret and Sean. Here's what happened.
Oh, well, it wouldn't be the first, and it's not the last, right?
Certainly. But what you got for us, Frank?
Sign me up right now. Jalen Brunson, Paul George, DeAndre Ayton, and Julius Randle. Sign me the hell up. We're going to win the Eastern Conference with that. We're going to win the Eastern Conference with that.
No, you're not.
Yes, we are.
No, you're not. Oh, my
Yes, we
God.
are. Don't even start with Boston.
You're not beating Boston, Milwaukee with that.
Don't start with Boston. They don't even have a real point guard in Boston. I'll get to them later on. Yeah. I mean, look.
So, care to explain what happened?
Yeah, absolutely, Frank. I mean, look, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I firmly believe that the Knicks would win the Eastern Conference with that team. And, Sean, I know you're going to have some pushback here, but before you do that, I mean, look, the Knicks made it to the second round, took the Miami Heat to 6 games, easily could have won that series. I mean, let's be honest. And that was with the current team they have now. You're telling me you add a Paul George and a DeAndre Ayton, they can't win the Eastern Conference? I think it's very doable.
I mean, my thing here is you're saying add DeAndre Ayton, add Paul George, but then you're also saying it's good that Leon Rose hasn't done anything. So you got to stick to one. It's either one or the other, my man. You can't say both sides. It's either it's good that he hasn't done anything and they're keeping the team the same, or you should go out and get superstars. Now, if you do add Paul George and DeAndre Ayton, it does give you a better chance. I'm not a big fan of DeAndre Ayton personally, but I see the appeal. So it's like I'm sure they'll fit great around Brunson, Randall. I'm sure you'll have to trade RJ in one of those 2 deals, but it would look good. You guys were close to beating Miami, didn't happen. And who knows what could have happened against Boston? You guys were 3-1 against us, so who knows?
Wait a second. I mean, you said Leon Rose is sleeping. That's not the case, Sean. I mean, look, we got Dante DiVincenzo, white chocolate. I mean, come on, he's.
You also gave up Obi Toppin for absolutely nothing.
Well, wait a second. You know, you got him coming off the bench with Emmanuel Quickly and Josh Hart. I mean, that's an electric trio. Obviously, defensively and offensively, you got Hartenstein in there as well. Don't forget about him. I mean, I think they've gotten better, Sean. You know, you're here. Mocking my Knicks, mocking my team here, and I think they did get better. Obi Toppin, it is what it is. See you later. Have fun in Indiana. I mean, Frank was just there. It is what it is.
It happened because Frank was there.
I guess that's what led to it. But Dante DiVincenzo is a better player than Obi Toppin. That's just he is a better player.
Obi has more potential. Obi has way more potential. Than Dante DiVincenzo does.
I mean, could he dunk the ball? Yes, he's also 6'9", and he could jump. So, I mean, if I was 6'9", I could dunk the basketball. I mean, if any of us were 6'9", we would be able to dunk the basketball, no? So it is what it is. Wish Obi nothing but the best, but I'm happy to have Dante D in the Big A. So, Frank, what else you got?
Well, this concludes the Let's Be Frank segment, and I'm going to come up with new headlines every week.
Mm-hmm. One last thing, Frank.
Yep.
You forgot to mention Delta. I see you're wearing your Delta shirt.
Yep. And So if you're watching out there on YouTube, yes, I represent Delta Airlines. It's actually my favorite airline to fly on. So go to delta.com, and if you don't know where to go, then look for some flight deals, and it'll take you there to no time.
And this video is sponsored by Delta Airlines. Go to delta.com.
And also
not
JetBlue.
Yeah, and this show is also brought to you by WBCR, Brooklyn College Radio. And this concludes the Let's Be Frank segment, and I'm happy to take your calls, 718-951-4444. Back to you, Brett.
Yeah, let's give Frank a round of applause for the Let's Be Frank segment. All right, folks, we're going to get back to the basics here, and we're going to kick things off. Today is the first day of NFL training camp, and it's no secret the New York Jets were selected for a new edition of HBO's Hard Knocks. Sean, is this a good thing or a bad thing?
A bad thing. And here's why. Yes, it makes for good television, and I get it. This Jets locker room, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, the personality, how bipolar he is, would make for great television. But it's like, how willing are they to participate in this? Because if they're not willing to participate and actually take part in it and care for it, like, how good is that going to be? What kind of good content are you going to be able to get from it if they're not willing to let them into the locker room, to give them access to the team on a day-to-day basis?
Sean, I heard what you said, but this is absolutely amazing. The New York Jets are back, baby. This is the first day of training camp. Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet, and this is great. This is great for the Jets. This is great for the NFL. This is going to be so fun to watch. I mean, look, if you're upset about some cameras, walking around and filming you, then you just don't have the moxie that you need to have to win an NFL Super Bowl. So I'm really excited about it, Sean. When you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, what do you expect? I mean, you're not going to fly under the radar with Rodgers as your starting quarterback.
No, absolutely. But a guy like Aaron Rodgers himself even said this was shoved down their throats. They didn't really get any option. And it seems like from him, there's no real willingness to do it. So, like, what kind of content are you going to get if your star player is vehemently and verbally in public against it?
Well, look, I mean, the guy, he's been to Knicks games, Knicks playoff games, Rangers playoff games. He's going to all these award ceremonies. He's going to Broadway shows. I mean, the guy does not shy away from the spotlight. I understand he played in Green Bay his whole career, but he looks happy to be in New York. He understands what comes with it. And look, there's the last time the Jets were on Hard Knocks was 2010. Let's not forget that was a very successful season for them. So, and Sean, I mean, there's cameras there anyway. I understand this is going on national television, but I think that having those cameras there, having that knowledge that you're being watched, I think that's going to make them better. I think it's going to make them more alert. I think they're going to – it's almost like, I work in a grocery store, so it's like, there's cameras, the boss is upstairs, so it's like you're hesitant to go on your phone. You're hesitant to be talking to your fellow cashiers while ringing people up because you don't want to get in trouble. Now, if there were no cameras there, if there was no boss upstairs, what are you going to do? You're going to go on your phone. You're going to talk to your cashiers next to you while ringing people up. You're just not going to give a shit. So I think this is a good thing for the Jets. I think it's going to make them really locked in here.
I mean, that's gonna take time because as of right now, they're not willing to do it, and so it's like that's gonna take a process. Maybe as it starts, maybe they'll get more accustomed to it. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will warm up to it. But like, I just feel like this would be a disaster. I don't feel like this would be as entertaining of a season if the team themselves are saying no and that the NFL forced it on them and that they had no choice.
Well, look, it's really just Rob Saleh saying no, and you know what? He's got to come on. I mean, this is New York. This is Aaron freaking Rodgers. I mean, have some faith, have some belief. This is not the same old Jets. This is not Mike White or Zach Milson or Mark Sanchez.
Or Geno Smith.
Yeah. I mean, come on. This is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this team is going to be great. You have a star-studded defense. You got a Hall of Fame quarterback. You got weapons, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, hopefully Dalvin Cook soon. I mean, this is going to be a great season. I think that Hard Knocks is going to make it even better. So I'm excited for it. I understand, previous 18 teams on HBO's Hard Knocks, only 7 made the playoffs. So not a great stat there, and only 3 of those 18 teams won a single playoff game. So, but you know what? The one team that won multiple playoff games were the Jets in 2010. So I think this is a great thing. I'm excited for it. 2 things I'm really looking forward to see is the Sauce Gardner versus Garrett Wilson matchup kind of mic'd up. I want to see them going head-to-head. Obviously rookies and one all-rookie, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. I want to see them really going at it in practice, similar to Darrelle Revis and Brandon Marshall in 2015. And then the other thing I'm really looking forward to see is Aaron Rodgers' moxie. I want to see how he leads this group of men and how the team reacts to it. Because this is a relatively young team, Sean. Aaron Rodgers has been there and done that, and I just want to see how this team reacts to a guy like that in the huddle, in the locker room, really the leader and face of this New York Jets football team.
Is Aaron Rodgers that guy, though?
Absolutely. Yeah. Why do you don't think he's that guy?
No, he's great. He's the best quarterback the Jets have had in a long time, but I mean, like...
Ever.
Okay, sure. But as you go along in the regular season, like, is Aaron Rodgers the guy that lifts the team up, the vocal leader? Is he that guy? Because there's a lot of questions about him as a leader. There's people not questioning his talent, but his ability to be able to carry the team. Well,
we're going to find out. And in the meantime, we're going to get to the calls here. We got a couple in now. And the first one we're going to get to is Nick out in Brooklyn. What's going on today, Nick?
I got a few things for you. First of all, let's give some love to Carlos Alcaraz. Defeated Djokovic at Wimbledon at the tender age of 20.
Unbelievable.
That is remarkable. The second thing I got for you, the Knicks. You have to remember something. Next year, you got 3 teams that were embarrassed this year, and they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder. First of all, you got Miami, Philly, and Miami was embarrassed in the finals, and you also got Milwaukee that was embarrassed. So it's going to be tough for the Knicks to get past all of that.
I actually do think Giannis is going to come back with a rampage next season. I feel like he did take this loss to Miami in the first round personally, and I feel like he's not going to care. He's just going to come in, put in the work, make the team as good as possible. I feel like they'll finish with the best record in the NBA yet again, and it'll come down to the playoffs, but I feel like Giannis will deliver.
I hear you, Sean. I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I'm just like, did Giannis really take it personal, though? Did he really take it to heart? Because in that post-game press conference, we talked about it. He seemed kind of conniving. He seemed kind of sarcastic to me. So we'll see. Maybe he's satisfied he already won his championship. But, great player, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were number one in the East again. But like Nick said, there's a couple teams in there. But you know what? Same for the West. The league is very talented right now.
Well, I think Denver will be able to handle that. But also, my boy is being called up, Ronnie Mauricio.
Yep.
My question is, where are they going to play him?
It's a good question, Nick. That's a good question. I don't see a good fit for him at second base. I think he's too big for the shortstop and second base position. I'd like to see him. You got Beatty at third base, so that's going to be tough. But I'd like to see him in left field. Doing some DHing, obviously, but I think left field is probably the best spot for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that Canna is going to be traded pretty soon anyway.
I'm sure he will, yeah. But you know what? Speaking of the baby Mets, how about Alvarez? I mean, that guy is, if one thing's gone right for the Mets this year is that I think they found themselves a star in Francisco Alvarez with 2 home runs yesterday. I mean, the guy is just smashing the ball. I understand the average is a little low, but he's a rookie. I mean, look at Anthony Volpe. What's he hitting, 150? I mean, come on. So Alvarez is the real deal.
Well, speaking of the Mets, let's be frank on that one. Let's be frank. Jeff McNeil is never going to get a car for Francisco Lindor unless it's a Hot Wheels.
Yeah. I mean, that's messed up. I mean, come on. You got to stick to your word. I mean, you're only making $341 million. That's without all your sponsorships and whatnot. So, I mean, that's a little messed up. I'd be pissed off if I was Jeff McNeil. But you know what? Jeff McNeil, when is he going to start hitting the ball? The guy's hitting 250. He looks like a shell of himself. I don't know who messed with his swing, but he's a big reason why the Mets are 6 games under 500. Let's be honest, Nick.
Well, that's Buck Showalter's fault. He's afraid to bench players. I mean, he even plays Vogelbach, so I think you got to give Buck some blame for that.
Definitely. I mean, Buck deserves a lot of blame here, especially leading into the All-Star break. Lost him that last game against San Diego, but I will say this: Mets 6 games under 500 now. They got to keep winning. And if I'm the Mets, if they could keep themselves to, I'd say 5 or less under 500, I'd be buyers. But if we start talking 7, 8, 9 games under 500, I think you should just start looking into selling because the team got embarrassed the first 2 games against the Dodgers. That's a contender in the National League, so you're obviously not on par with a team like that, obviously.
Well, they got embarrassed last night against the White Sox also. They were very lucky to win that game.
Very lucky, up 7 runs, and they had to turn to David Robertson in a game they were up by 7 runs, and he almost blew it. But luckily, David Robertson, he bends, but he doesn't break, so you like to see that.
And it's interesting because you look at the Mets last few weeks, they win 8 out of 10. Everything looks good. They're starting to cook. Everything looks upstream, and then you lose 4 in a row. Coming out of the All-Star breaks, and then you win last night barely, even after that game almost being a blowout. So you look at that and go like, there's a feeling of hope around the Mets, but there's also that realization that, like, at the end of the day, we're not good enough.
Well, okay, let's say they make the playoffs. Who are they getting past? They're not going to get past the Braves.
No, absolutely no.
And it kills
I
me
got
to
a
say
question.
that.
Who's worse in the post-game interview, Buck or Boone?
Boone's been pretty bad recently.
In the post-game interview, Nick, I'm a little biased here. I got to say Buck. I mean, the guy is lifeless up there. I've said this many times. He has no answers whatsoever. It's like a total, Eamon mentioned this last week. It's like a total 360 from last year, It really is, Every move he makes is wrong. Last year it was right. They look to, when they challenge a call, they're always wrong. The camera guy was great last year. This year stinks. And like I said, Buck is just lifeless. At least with Booney, you got some life out there. He's getting ejected. He's throwing gum. He's kicking dirt. Now, I understand his post-game maybe not the same, but it can't be as bad as Buck. No way.
Yeah, but also it seems like Boone just gets a little too over defensive with it too. Like he tries to defend and justify the calls he makes, whereas with Buck, you're right, it's just a lifeless, just him being there, like not even really caring, just like this is just him basically not figuratively admitting this is what the team is and there's not much I could do, just giving up on the season.
Yeah, really, like this team is the highest. I mean, the payroll is the most in history. I mean, can you sit up there and acknowledge,
And the Yankees are second, so.
But at least acknowledge like what a failure you've been when you got the highest payroll in history. Like, don't just sit up there like you're some small market team like you were in Baltimore and this is okay. This is unacceptable. I'm sorry, this is really unacceptable.
I got one more thing for you guys.
Let's hear it.
I know you guys are very high on Aaron Rodgers, but I would argue that Dalvin Cook could be more of an impact player than Rodgers could. And this morning I turned on the internet, and what do I see? The Patriots are going to get Dalvin Cook. Well, they're a hot contender for him anyway. That would really hurt the Jets.
I saw something about a few days ago about the Miami Dolphins like reaching out to him, so that would suck too. But I don't think they'll get Dalvin Cook. I think it was Hopkins or nothing. I don't really see a path for them to get Dalvin Cook. Now I think the Jets. I feel like he'll end up going to the Miami Dolphins, so I feel like that's pretty much not a done deal. A done deal that the Jets won't get him.
And yeah, I have a different opinion. I think that he wants to be a Jet, and I think that it's just about Joe Douglas. Stop nickeling and diming, and let's just get this deal done. You lost Hopkins. Luckily, he didn't go in division. Luckily, he went to Tennessee. Don't know what, that guy really, I mean, he's all about the money. He said he wants to play with a great quarterback and win a championship. Sorry, buddy, you're not winning a championship in Tennessee with whoever Malik Willis. I mean, let's be honest.
And we even talked about, imagine Hopkins goes to the Patriots. But, what are you really going to do?
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones is better than Malik Willis. So have fun in Tennessee. They're still going to hand the ball to Derrick Henry every time. But, look, I think he's going to be a Jet. I really do. I think the Jets like the idea of him making the load lighter for Breece Hall. He's coming off a big injury here, and he's a young, really talented football player, so you don't want to risk anything. I know he says he'll be ready week 1, but why do that? Why rush him back? Yeah. Dalvin Cook is a Pro Bowl player. Take your time with Breece Hall, and you know what? Last time Aaron Rodgers won MVP, they ran that 2-back set in Green Bay. Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, and guess what happened when Jamal Williams went to Detroit? Aaron Rodgers, I know he was injured last year, a lot of things. He still had a good season, but it wasn't the same. He likes that 2-back set. Bam Knight is great, but I think that Dalvin Cook is really going to be an X factor for the Jets. So, yes, Nick, I agree with you. I don't think he'd be more of an impact player than Aaron Rodgers. I think the quarterback position is the most important in the NFL. But, look, he would be a very high-impact player for the Jets if they got him.
And you think that Hard Knocks is a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's great. Jets? Tremendous. I think it's tremendous. I think it's going to be must-see TV. Really do.
I just don't see that the Jets are willing to participate in it, so I don't really feel like it'll be any good.
Yeah, well, you know what? They can't have that loser mentality that they've had for their, and I've been a Jet fan my whole life. Enough with the loser mentality. You got Aaron freaking Rodgers, all right? You get Aaron Rodgers, you get everything that comes with it. I'm sorry. That's what it is. No more of the little brother, no more of the second team in New York. The Jets are the team right now. Embrace it.
And if they don't win this year, you want to get rid of Salas?
Yeah, I'd say so. This is year 3. He keeps talking about year 3. Show me something. You got Aaron Rodgers now.
If they don't win the Super Bowl, you get rid of him?
No, not. But if they don't, if they underperform.
Okay. Okay. If they underperform, then yeah.
But. I mean, I think Rodgers is here 3 years. I think there was one of the reporters said that it's pretty clear Rodgers is going to be here 3 years. So if they could win a Super Bowl in 3 years, that'd be great.
So they got a nice 3-year window. They just got to capitalize.
Yep. But Nick,
and who would you replace him with?
Salah. I'm not sure, but it's just he hasn't proven. It's weird with him because he's kind of been mediocre. It's like I'm not so high on him, but I'm also not willing to get rid of him because who do you replace him with? Like you just mentioned, I'm not sure. Who's out there that's better than him? But the problem is that like I said, he's mediocre. He's not necessarily so great that I'm so set on keeping him. So it's a sticky situation. If the Jets do what they're supposed to do, Salah, you're here. If they underperform, see you later. That's where I stand. He's okay. That's my opinion on him.
I agree.
Yep. But we appreciate your call as always, Nick. We're going to get to some Nets later on, so stick around for that.
Thank you for calling.
All right.
Nick.
Talk to you guys later.
See you, Nick.
See you.
All right. Next up, we've got Nick out in Diker Heights. What's going on? Oh, no, Nick. What am I saying? We've got Daniel out in Diker Heights. What's going on today, Daniel?
What's going on, guys? Good to hear from you.
You too.
How you been, my man?
Good. Real quick, just wanted to say you guys had a great interview last week. It was very entertaining. You guys did a great job.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Daniel.
it.
Appreciate it.
All right, so real quick, I got 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the Jets have to get over themselves because this is how it's going to be the whole year. We're going to have pressure from everybody in the league, and if we can't handle the pressure of the Hard Knocks cameras, we're screwed.
Yep. We got a bullseye on our
Salah's
back.
got to get over it because this is where the pressure starts. This is the easiest pressure they're going to have this year.
Daniel, I think I agree with you, Dan. We need to embrace this pressure because you know what? The old Jets, there was no pressure because we were irrelevant. Nobody cared about us. Now we have Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's watching us. We need to embrace it. And like I said to Nick and Sean, everything that comes, you get Aaron Rodgers, you have to take everything that comes with it. This is a big-time star in the NFL. I think he's got like the second highest selling jersey, something like that. This is a big-time superstar. And he's embraced New York, so now it's time for us to embrace everything that comes with him.
Yeah, and you know what the pressure is when we have to go into Arrowhead and we have 80,000 people in red shirts just chanting, all over Aaron Rodgers' head. That's pressure.
Yep.
Not some guy with a camera in your face telling you how your day was.
It's true, and I don't know how you feel about this, Daniel, but I think that, like I said earlier, I think it puts more emphasis on the crossing your T's and dotting your I's because those cameras are watching you and they're trying to, I don't want to say embarrass you because I think they're going to try to do a good job here because they want to keep Hard Knocks going on. So I think they're going to try to make the Jets look good here and not embarrass them. So, but I just think
I think they're looking for content. I think they're looking for somebody to slip up, and they want they're going to have the coach shouting at them. They're going to have Rodgers with a couple of quotes,
which is inevitable.
Yeah, but you're never gonna. But they'll at HBO they're never gonna be like, intentionally do something to cause commotion that you could get on camera. It's gonna it'll all be natural,
right?
But like with Aaron Rodgers, like this isn't a good sign of him not wanting to do it.
Well,
that isn't a good sign.
Well, I think that's just his personality, Sean. I think that's just he doesn't like the spotlight. He said that he doesn't like the spotlight, but this is just too bad. Get over it.
Well,
you're in New York now. You're in the media capital of the world. You're going to get a camera in your face every 5 seconds.
I mean, you're not in a irrelevant state like Wisconsin anymore. So
true, and maybe he was just approached about it.
Here.
Cheese and sausage. Maybe he was just maybe the reporter caught him at the wrong time. Let's be honest. He was on the golf course. Nice summer days on the golf course.
But
just
that's New York, right? You know that they're going to get you when you're swimming out in the pond, out in Fishkill.
I guess my point is that I disagree. I mean, I know what he said, and they're shoving it down their throats, but I think he just likes to be combative with the media. I don't think he's as against it as he said he was. Robert Saleh being against it, that's a bad sign for me because, you got to embrace it. You're the head coach, and you have to understand this is what comes with it.
Well, I think he's a guy standing up for his quarterback.
Well, he said it before Rodgers was quoted saying it. But, I mean, maybe he knew Rodgers didn't want to do it, but...
That's what I'm thinking, is that Rodgers didn't want to do it, and he's standing up for his quarterback, and he's trying to echo that onto the whole team.
I just can't believe it, though, because like I said, Rodgers has been seen everywhere in New York, all these big events. So I don't know why he would have a problem with Hard Knocks. I just don't know how much I'm buying that because he's been all over New York from the day he got here. He really has. He hasn't been shying away from it. A guy like Eli Manning kind of went, you can never find him. He was always under the radar. He was never seen anywhere. Aaron Rodgers,
right.
Aaron Rodgers a week in, he's at an event every single night, smiling.
Right. I just think like this is going to be an overall good thing for the Jets because there's a lot of personalities on this team that we don't know. Right? We don't know, how Joe Douglas is on the football field. We see Rob Saleh being a very, emotional guy on the field, but how is he on the practice field? And, guys like Garrett Wilson and and Breece Hall, who we don't really understand what their personality is. And even Rodgers, to a degree, we don't know what he's like because we saw him from the outside.
Yeah.
It just gives us a good idea of what he is and how he actually is as a person.
And that's what I said earlier.
It's going to be a great thing for the Jets. They're going to have great content.
Absolutely. That's what I said earlier. That's what I said. I said that Aaron Rodgers, I'm really excited to see how the team reacts to him. We've seen Rodgers give some quotes and some interviews, but I want to see him in the action. I want to see how this young team really reacts and responds to a guy like this, and I want to see how accountable he holds these players. He's not going to be a Tom Brady who's yelling at his players on the sideline, getting in your face. That's Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers does it kind of differently. Apparently he leads by example. He's not as vocal, but he does get vocal when it's like you do something really stupid. So I'm excited to see how he leads and how people follow him.
No, I agree. I think this is going to be a great experience, not only for us as fans, but for the Jets in general, just starting to really embrace this media side of it and how, they're going to be 6 times on primetime football. So this is not going to be the first time they're going to be under the lights from the spotlight.
No, and this is great because you know what? We matter. That's what this means, Hard Knocks. You know,
Brett, that just made me feel so good.
Yeah.
The Jets
I'll say
matter.
it again.
Now, you
We matter.
that?
The New York Jets are back, baby. We're back, and we matter, and we have Aaron freaking Rodgers, and there's nothing nobody could do about it.
But
right.
It'll just be interesting just to see exactly how Rodgers responds. Will he I'm sure he was gonna warm up, so he's gonna have to, because there's nothing much he could do now. And like what Brett said about how the players respond to him, I feel like the players are gonna respond to him great. You know, he'll take them under his tutelage, under his wing, teach them stuff, and tell them right from wrong, and they'll all learn from him. I'm sure they'll all get along.
It's a breath of fresh air. You know, I mentioned the quarterbacks that stunk before him. We all know who they are, but it's great. Daniel, you got anything else for us today?
I just have one quick thing because I know how big of a Ranger fan you are, Brett.
Let's hear it.
I was talking about the other day, I was having this debate. Would you do this trade right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We give up Capo Caco, Filipino, and Ryan Lindgren to Toronto for Mitch Marner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You do that trade?
Yeah, Mitch Marner's great. I understand Heedle. I love Heedle. You know, Kako, energy. Lindgren, Lindgren brings that fire and desire. I like that.
But I just feel like Lindgren's too much to give up because to me, he's like Dan Girardi.
But here's how
he's
I look at it,
the grinder, goes in, game out,
and
he blocks every shot. He's that cog in that machine.
He does. But you could find those guys. I feel like you can't really find a Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner, I gotta be honest, he'd come to the Rangers and be their best player. He would. I understand the bread man. I understand Mika. He'd be our best player. We've never had that guy. We've always had bridesmaid, never a bride. We've always had the Rick Nash. We've always had the Artemi Panarin, who's great. But we've never had that next level. And I'm not saying Mitch Marner is Austin Matthews or somebody like that, but he would be our best player.
We've never had that elite top 5 player in the NHL.
No.
Other than Henrik.
Other than Henrik, but if we did have one of those players with Henrik, we'd have a Stanley Cup. That we would.
Yeah.
We would. Henrik has
That
always...
was 94.
Yeah. We've always had good players playing in front of Henrik. We've never had that elite player that played with Henrik. And I think you put him with Igor, I think the team has a real shot. But that's why we always come up short, is because we don't have that elite player. It's the same old story with the Rangers.
I don't know. I just feel like this team has too many young players for a veteran coach. So I feel like it's time to really start to see, Lafreniere hasn't developed. Kako is inconsistent. Hito's a good third-line center, maybe second, but he's not going to be the Banijed level top-line center that we drafted him to be.
Nope.
If you can give up those guys to get that elite next-level player, I'd do it.
Yeah, 100%. So you can sign me up for that. I really hope it happens. But we appreciate your call as always, Daniel, and we will catch you next week. Hopefully the Mets win tonight.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, if they get to 500, we're going to get Ohtani. So it's going to be great.
Yep, and we're going to make the playoffs. But Frank, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, let's go Mets, Daniel. Let's go Mets.
There you go.
Let's go, Mets. Let's go Stems.
Yep. Well, thank you for your call, Daniel, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, guys. Take care.
You too.
Take care, Dale.
All right, folks. In the meantime, we're going to head to a short break here, take about 5 minutes, and we're going to play a track from the year 1978. Back after this.
Kind of control my feet. I just can't control my feet. I just can't control my feet. Sunshine, I don't blame it on the moonlight. I don't blame it on the good times. I blame it on the boogie. I don't blame it on the sunshine. I don't blame it on the moonlight. I don't on the good times. I blame it on the boogie. Sunshine, yeah, moonlight, good times, boogie. Don't you blame it, sunshine. You just got the moonlight. You just wanna good times, yeah. Oh, blame it on yourself. Sunshine, ain't nobody's fault but yours and that boogie. All night long, yours and that boogie. Ain't nobody's fault but yours and that boogie. Dancing all night long, blaming on yourself. Ain't nobody's fault but yours and that boogie.
All right, we're back. Just dropped my pen, but got it. And Frank, you said you had something you wanted to throw in here. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, his mic's off. Get that mic on.
Yep, here we go. Much better. So, yep, I got a question for you, Brett. What?
Uh-oh.
Yep, got a question for you, and I'm gonna recycle a question from what Nick asked me a few weeks ago. What's right about Aaron Rodgers? Like, what's so special about him anyway? Like, I don't like. Fill me in. Like, fill me in the details.
Ayahuasca, Darkness Retreat, psychedelics,
Having Pat McAfee as your best friend.
Oregon, staying in a little hut in Oregon. I mean, the guy's unique. I love his
He's just
uniqueness.
different,
And he really,
It could work for and against him. So
I love Aaron Rodgers. I'm so happy he's my quarterback. And I love Zach Wilson still. I'm happy he's the backup. And one day we'll see him. That's my quarterback. That is my quarterback, Zach Wilson. That is my quarterback.
Zach Wilson.
But anyway, we're going to shift gears. I hope that answered your question.
Back to you, Brett.
Yeah, I hope that, Aaron Rodgers is great. But we're going to switch gears here to the NBA. Obviously, Damian Lillard, hot topic in the NBA. And Sean, let me ask you, is it Dame time on Atlantic Avenue?
Yeah, it should be if they find a way to not trade McCall Bridges, because they have the contracts to do it. They just signed Cam Johnson, of all people, to a 4-year, $108 million, making more than Jalen Brunson. Absolutely insane.
Thank you for bringing that up.
But yeah, the Nets have the draft capital. They have the big money contracts to make it work. So if they can make it work, go for Dame. Do it. Why not? I know they just came off of KD, Kyrie, Harden, that whole shit show. But if you get Dame, go get him. Why not? If you're able to keep your best player as of right now and pair him with Dame, I don't see the damage.
Question, do you think Lillard and Bridges get you further than KD and Kyrie? And I know that's probably a stupid question because they really didn't get you anywhere. I mean, they didn't win anything. So, what about that duo would excite you, I guess, is what I'd like to know. Because you said you need to keep Bridges. I understand that. What about Dame and Bridges would be so enticing, you think?
The Bridges is still a developing player. We've seen it all throughout the season. He was able to score on his own, create his own shot, create for others. And with Dame, it's like, yes, he's a blizzard in terms of scoring, but you just look at how he's able to structure that team. You have Nick Claxton, you have the defensive presence there, you have Dame and Bridges, guys that can both score and create for other opportunities for others. Like a guy like Joe Harris. Wait, he's not there anymore. But guys that on the Nets team that Dame would
Seth
be able
Curry.
To yeah, Seth Curry. Guys that Dame would make their job easier, and Bridges to score on his own, in addition to Dame scoring, would help the team. Yeah,
you mentioned Joe Harris. Probably a good thing that he's gone because he always choked in the playoffs. He always had a great three-point percentage in the regular season, but remember that three he missed against Milwaukee? That was huge. That was wide open from the wing. And
Yeah.
you needed Joe Harris there, and he came up small like he usually does in the playoffs. But, Damian Lillard, I'm looking at him, 33 years of age. He's forcing his way to Miami. The worst thing that you want on your team is a disgruntled superstar.
Yes.
We've seen that many a
Yes.
times. And look, only one conference championship appearance. And when he did play in that conference championship, he got embarrassed by the Golden State
They got
Warriors.
swept easily by the Golden State Warriors.
And you know what? It's not even like he played well.
Yeah.
He played like crap. I mean, 37% from the field. Let's see. From three, he was atrocious. Last 2 seasons, hasn't been able to stay healthy, coming off core surgery. His last 2, he was a durable
Right.
player for most of his career.
Right.
Last 2 seasons, very not durable.
And one thing I don't understand how these people are like, oh, the Blazers owe it to Dame. No, they don't. I'm sorry, no, they don't, because you can't demand a trade and then only want to go to one team. You have to. Even Blazers GM Joe Cronin even said it would make it easier if he wanted more options. But him just wanting Miami is not going to get it done, because let me tell you right now, they're not trading Bam Adebayo for him, and the Blazers don't want Tyler Hero.
They want Caleb Martin, but if Miami's not even willing to give a part with him, then you're not. It's like you want
Because that guy overachieved in the playoffs, and Tyler Hero, let's be honest, didn't even play in the playoffs, and Miami went on that run.
Let's not forget they lost Gabe Vincent to the Lakers.
Yes,
and the last thing they want to do is lose another guy like that, who's even better, Caleb Martin. They're losing. They like that Heat culture, guys like that, and
so I just don't understand from Dame's point of view. Like, what are you trying to get at here? Like, I get you want to go to Miami, but you have to be able to work with the team either way, because if you're not able to get to Miami, you got to go somewhere else if you don't want to be in Portland.
And he's annoying because Jason Tatum is trying to get him to Boston. He's trying to figure out a way to get him to Boston, and he's not interested. Why not? How about Tatum, Brown, and Lillard? Why is he so against Boston? It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it's his ego. He wants to be the best. He knows he's probably not the best guy on the team.
I'm
if he
also
goes
not
there.
trading Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard.
No, but Jason Tatum wants to keep Jaylen Brown.
So it'd probably have to be Derek White, Robert Williams, and
A bunch of picks, 3-team kind of thing.
You get a
Boston's
third.
cold. Miami's hot.
Yeah,
True.
yes.
True.
Miami has that nightlife that Boston don't.
But let's be honest, Lewis. I mean, Boston's a big upgrade from Portland,
Yeah.
Oregon. I mean, he's been. It's not like he's going from California to Portland. He's going from Portland to Boston. Boston's pretty nice. I understand it's not as nice as Miami, South Beach 305, where Stephen A. Smith spends most of his time. Mr. Knicks fan he is.
You love Stephen A. Smith, don't you?
I can't stand Stephen A. Smith. But look, an interesting thing that I thought the Nets should have done, because I remember Nick brought it up. He's like, we should talk more Nets. And I thought of a trade in my head when he said that, and that was to acquire DeJounte Murray. Now, I understand DeJounte Murray was just extended by the Hawks 4 years, $120 million, but I think that, he reminds me kind of Mikal Bridges. He's a two-way player, still growing, still getting better, young, and I think if you put a Murray with the Bridges, that would have been a very interesting Nets team that you could get behind. A team you could root for and keep building, still have some assets, but I don't like the idea of a Dame. I like the idea of a DeJounte Murray on the Nets.
And like you said, at this point, if I'm any other team other than the Heat, I'd be scared to trade for Damian Lillard. What if he doesn't show up to training camp? What if he doesn't want to play? What are you going to do then? And it's like, it's also a risk for other teams that want to get involved in that. And another guy like James Harden, and if you still defend James Harden after everything he's done, I don't know what to tell you. Another guy just wants to go to the Clippers, but the Clippers don't even want to give up Terrence Mann for him. Like, bro, your trade value is so bad, it's not even funny. But so it's like, going back to Dame, like, if you're any other team, why trade for him? If it's not Miami, why even trade for him? That's why I'm like thinking now, like, if he doesn't go to Miami, he's gonna be in Portland at the start of next season if he doesn't end up going to Miami. I don't see him going to any other team.
And Sean, Harden, he cares more about the club than a championship. And Dame, like I said, nothing worse than a disgruntled star. And I mentioned DeJounte Murray, but, Trae Young is one of those disgruntled stars. Maybe he becomes loose and the Nets could do something there. Another young player you could pair with Bridges. That's just an idea. I'm not saying Trae Young's a perfect fit, but I'd like him in Brooklyn more than Damian Lillard. I think it'd be a better fit and they could grow together. But, I don't want to spend too much time here because we still have to move on. And, let's stay on the NBA. And how about the segment of building a championship team around Kevin Durant? Now, here's the thing. We're not using Suns players or Warriors players. We're using current players, but nobody that he's played with. So let's hear your team, a championship team with Kevin Durant at power forward.
So assuming Kevin Durant's at power forward, at point guard, I'd put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. a guy that averaged 31, 4 and 3 in the regular season, had a breakout year. Finally, OKC gave him the opportunity to actually play the whole season instead of just sitting him out because they wanted to tank. And I feel like that's a guy who's an all-star right now but has superstar potential. At shooting guard, this might surprise you, I'd put Jalen Green from the Houston Rockets. I know he's up and down. I know he's up and down. His shooting percentage is absolutely god-awful. Sometimes goes like 9 for 28 in the game. But that's a guy that under Ime Udoka, like Ime Udoka is a disciplined coach, whereas Steven Silas wasn't. So I feel like under Ime Udoka is going to teach him to create good shots for himself, take good shots, take smart shots, make the right play. So I feel like his development will come. At small forward, I'm going to put Paolo Banchero from the Orlando Magic.
Really? You're going a lot of young guys here.
Rookie of the year has a lot of potential. Has a world of potential in him. He has length. He's 6'8", could score, could defend, and I feel like around Kevin Durant, that's another scoring option that if Kevin Durant's out for whatever reason, Paolo Banchero could carry the scoring load when KD sits. And at center, I'd put Miles Turner. A defensive presence and a guy that could shoot the three, does a little bit of everything, rebound. He's a block monster, and I feel like his offense and defense is stabilized enough for him to be able to be a paint presence, but also provide on the offensive end.
I like it. Definitely would be an elite team, and I didn't mention this, but we're only using one superstar player with Kevin Durant, and yours was SGA. Yeah. I like it. You used a lot of youth on this team, but I like how you finished it off with Miles Turner. I kind of went the same route as you at the center position. I like the stretch five that could also defend, so I used a different guy. But here would be my team. At point guard, Luka Doncic. At shooting guard, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. At small forward, Mikal Bridges. At power forward, Kevin Durant. And at center, Brook Lopez. Now, the thing I like about this team is it's a good mix of youth, good mix of veterans. Like I mentioned before with the stretch five, Brook Lopez, we all know that he could shoot the three ball 38%, averaged 16 last year, really had a great year last year, led the NBA in blocks. So I like a guy that could stretch the floor on offense but also defend at a very high level at the rim. Now, with the shooting guard and small forward, KCP and Bridges, now those are two lockdown potentials. You know, there's no really lockdown players anymore, but because everyone could score the basketball at such a high clip, but I like what KCP and Mikal Bridges do on the defensive end. Both had 115 defensive ratings last year, which is very high. It's in the elite category. Obviously, Luka Doncic, we all know what he could do.
Superstar.
You know, led the NBA in scoring. And is he your prototypical point guard? No, but he does average 8 assists, and he draws so much attention that kind of like a Jokic, you know, kind of like a point guard Jokic. He gets those double teams. And what I looked at building around Kevin Durant is what worked for him in Golden State. Now, I understand he played with a Hall of Famer, greatest shooter of all time in Stephen Curry, but a point guard that garnered so much attention like a Steph. Now, Luka Doncic doesn't garner as much attention as Steph Curry, but you might say he's second, you know, maybe third in the NBA behind a Jokic in attention required. So if you put a Luka Doncic with the ball in his hands, kicking it out to a KD who could score at all three levels, he could cut, he could shoot, he could create his own shot. And with KCP and Bridges, you have catch-and-shoot guys. Now, what did KD have in Golden State? Elite catch-and-shoot three-point shooters. KCP shot 42% from three last year, Sean. A ridiculous clip. So that's a team that I think could really do it with Kevin Durant. And I don't know.
And I feel like with both our teams, like Kevin Durant's going to play with a lot of space too. The lane and the paint are not going to be clogged up for him with guys like Lopez and Miles Turner who could roam out to the corner, who could defend the three too. So it's like KD's going to have the opportunity to play with a lot of space, create his own shot, and get others going. Yep,
and we both had the same idea. Like I said, we could have went with a Mitchell Robinson or a Rudy Gobert, guys that are elite in the paint but don't stretch the floor at all. You know, we both like that stretch five position. And, you know, also what I noticed is that with my team, a lot of championship DNA. You know, you look at KCP, he's won with the Lakers, he's won with the Nuggets. You look at Brook Lopez, obviously with the Milwaukee Bucks. Luka hasn't had much playoff success, but, you know, if you put those guys around him, and obviously KD hasn't done it on his own, you know, I don't want to say he was carried, but he played with generational players.
He was the best player on that team, but at the end of the day, that was still Steph Curry's team, and let's be honest, he played with the greatest team ever.
Yep.
So
now we're going to switch gears here to WWE, and obviously a lot has went down lately, and the Bloodline, Sean, is completely dead. You know, we said it weeks ago that it was over, but now it's just like Now it's just like the coffin is closed
It's-
and they're underground.
It's just Roman, Solo, and the wise man Heyman. But yeah, the Bloodline is officially dead. Starting off with Money in the Bank, the big tag match, the Usos against Heyman and Solo. Roman Reigns ate the fall, which honestly surprised me. I did not see that coming. I expected Jay to pin Solo after a mistake he made, and then that would be the beef between Roman and Heyman, between Roman and Solo. But you even see a lot of that time in that match, in that tag match. Roman got frustrated with Solo a lot, with tag out, and Solo kind of looked at him kind of pissed off, like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And so that they're teasing tension there too. And now we're looking at Jay and Roman at SummerSlam after that segment in Madison Square Garden where Roman sent Jimmy Uso to the hospital. So now it's just Jay on his own against Roman, against his cousin. And 3 years in the making, this is all come full circle. The Bloodline started with Jay against Roman, and 3 years later, it's Jay against Roman once again.
Yep. And Jay against Roman once again, exactly. And let's not forget 2021 when he really played those mind games with Jay, and Jay really felt like Roman was so much better than him and that he cannot beat Roman. So I really think that was the point at Money in the Bank of having Jay pin Roman. And I actually predicted that because I think that they had to show Roman's weakness without his family.
Yes.
You know, Roman obviously a superstar by himself, but he was unbeatable with the family. He hadn't been pinned in over 3.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, so now breaking up that family, you show Roman, he's still elite, obviously, but you see his power starting to fade. You see him becoming vulnerable, you know. And let's take it even further back, Sean, before Money in the Bank. This all started, let's not forget Sami Zayn when he was part of the Bloodline. What was his job? To implode the Bloodline, to make them realize who Roman Reigns really is, a selfish man that only cares about himself. And then Jimmy Uso turned on Roman Reigns at Night of Champions. Jay Uso pins him at Money in the Bank. So Jay got his revenge, like I said, for the mental warfare that Roman Reigns played on him. But now what's next? That's the big question. What's next? We've seen what's gone on, you know, with the tribal court, you know, all that stuff. So what do you think is next? I know I have my opinion about it.
I think Roman retains at SummerSlam, no question. Now here's the question coming off of that. Is all the family stuff done? Is that it with the Usos against Roman? Do the Usos go on and do something else? Or is that or are they always going to have that storyline family connection? Because I don't see Jey Uso being the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. I still think that's Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. But yeah, so I feel like right after when Roman beats Jay at SummerSlam, there's going to be a ton of interference. Jimmy's going to come back. Solo's going to get involved. There's going to be a lot of shenanigans that go down. But at the end of the day, Roman's going to win. So it's like, not only what's Roman's next feud, but where does the Bloodline... Is there going to be a family civil war anymore? Is that dead, or are they going to continue that coming out of SummerSlam too?
Well, you brought up a good point. I think Jimmy will make his return there from the hospital. And for me, what I think is next is Solo turning on Roman Reigns because, like you said, we've kind of seen it. Now, let's not, and you mentioned Cody Rhodes too, and I'm glad you did because let's not forget WrestleMania 39. What did Roman Reigns need to beat Cody Rhodes? What did he need?
A solo with Samoan Spike right at the end.
Exactly. Now, why do I think Solo turning on Roman is the next step? Because, like you said, Cody will be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns, and he will not have Solo by his side at WrestleMania 40, and he will lose fair and square to Cody Rhodes. Now, is there a world where, I know you said Jey Uso won't dethrone him, but is there a world where Roman still beats Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40 without his family?
I don't. If they do that, that would be insane because at that point you might as well just have him pass Hulk Hogan, who he's 400 days away or something like that from passing. So if he does beat Cody Rhodes, then I don't know what they have planned. Because if he beats Cody Rhodes for a second time, that's it for Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
he's not beating.
And
Roman.
I think it'd be a mistake.
Yeah, no, it would be a big mistake because if he doesn't beat Roman Reigns in their second match, that's it. So it's also like, what are Roman's feuds going into WrestleMania? Who does he feud with? Is there anyone really coming up? Because he's beaten everybody.
Yeah.
He's beaten Owens. He's beaten Zayn. He's beaten Cena. He's beaten all these guys. So it's like, who's even that next coming guy that is on the precipice to even face Roman Reigns?
Well, we both agree that Rhodes is going to be the guy, but watching Money in the Bank with some friends of mine, my buddy brought up a good point. Now, I predicted, like I said, that Jay would pin him, but do you think it would have made more sense for WWE to design it that not only Cody Rhodes beats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, but that he's the first to pin him? Do you think that would have made more sense, having Cody Rhodes pin him rather than Jey Uso?
Yes and no. I see why WWE did what they did, because it like you said, it shows that Roman Reigns is vulnerable. It shows that him all alone, he lost. He doesn't have his family by his side. It would have been a bigger moment, though, for the first time that Roman gets pinned, and that's it. And he goes into the sunset. So you could have had Roman not get pinned at Money in the Bank, but then it's like, if you don't have him get pinned at Money in the Bank, do you have that segment on SmackDown? Like, how do you set up SummerSlam then? If I get that he pinned Solo, but that whole segment on SmackDown was Roman Reigns teasing that he'd give up Tribal Chief to Jey Uso, and then at the end not doing it and
punching him in the nuts.
Punching him in the nuts, and then absolutely destroying both Usos. And so it's like, if Roman didn't lose that Money in the Bank, what would have been that segment at MSG on SmackDown to set this all up?
Well, look, I mean, I think what WWE is trying to do, Sean, is it's kind of a win-win situation. Like, Jay's not going to dethrone Roman, but what they did do for Jay is that, like I mentioned, they let him get his revenge on Roman, and they're also going to let Cody complete his storyline at WrestleMania 40 by winning. So it's like, if you have Cody be the first to pin him and dethrone him, it's like, all right, Cody's getting all the love. It's like you're kind of leaving out Jey Uso. So they're kind of completing each storyline as we go along here. So I think it's a win-win-win situation. Now, I mean, Roman Reigns teasing Jey Uso at the SmackDown segment. I mean, no surprise there. Although I was a little caught off guard, to be honest. But that's what WWE does. Just when you think Roman's leaving, he comes back. And
like that,
keep you guessing.
That Sami Zayn Tribal Court segment they had, Zayn had all these exhibits of like Roman mistreating them, and that's what the Usos put together. And it's like, yeah, Roman's been a bully. And what did he say? He was like, I don't need this. You guys, I don't need you. You guys need me. He's like, I have 5 kids at home. I don't need to be supporting you. And so it's like, it's also Roman being full of himself because he feels that guilt. He feels that pressure of having to be there for his cousins because they're not at the same level as him. But I feel like what WWE's also set up here with Jey Uso is, yes, he's going to lose at SummerSlam, but I feel like he'll be in the main event picture for the foreseeable future. I could still see him being at the top of the card facing main event level talent.
Yeah, well, that's what WWE did. They're going to make it main event Jey Uso.
Yeah.
But Roman, like you said, Roman, they needed him more than he needed them because he was a main event before this even started. Now now Jey Uso is becoming a main event because of this. But we'll see what happens. What do you think quickly before we go? What do you think happens at SummerSlam?
Roman wins. There's probably a lot of shenanigans. Solo gets involved. There's probably going to be some tension there. Tease with Roman and Solo. Maybe Solo accidentally almost cost him the match. I could even see after Roman wins, Solo turning on him. I could also see that. But real quickly, Finn Balor and Seth Rollins going to have another match at SummerSlam.
Seth's going to win.
No.
You don't think so?
No. I'll tell you what. Finn Balor's going to win. Judgment Day is going to help him. And Priest is going to cash in right after and screw over Finn.
He's had what has he had the title for a month? I mean...
3? 2,
no, 3. Seth Rollins has not had the title for 3 months, Sean. Come on.
A month and a half, my bad.
I was going to say 3
months. A month and a half.
I know, but Seth Rollins, he waited so long to get that title back, and now you're going to take it away from him after a month and a half?
But I feel like the Judgment Day just has so much steam right now that you need to put this title on Priest to further the tension between Rollins and Balor and Priest. Because think about it. Why is Finn Balor getting another match? Rollins beat him fair and square. Or I don't see them beating Finn twice in a row. Rollins beat him pretty clean at Money in the Bank. So why is there a purpose for a second match if Finn's not going to win?
This is Monday Night Rollins, Sean. This is Seth Rollins' title. He's the man. I mean, if anything, I think we're going to see some tension in the Judgment Day, and maybe they'll break up. I think there's a chance of that as well. I just don't see WWE. Seth worked hard to get back to the top, and I don't think they're going to take it away from him so quick unless they have something else planned for Seth. Maybe with Roman, maybe take the belt away from him, maybe pursue Roman's belt. Who knows? But WWE, that's what they always keep you guessing. So I wouldn't be surprised that I would not rule anything out.
No, it's unpredictable, right? It could go either way.
Yep.
It could go either way.
Well, we've run out of time here, folks. And Frank, you want to?
Yeah. So before we go, just gonna let you all know, due to the air quality and the hazy conditions, if you plan on going outside, you may want to consider wearing a mask. Like, consider it. Like, no, I'm not forcing you. I'm not forcing you to wear it, but you might want to think about it in case it gets worse. And also let your other families know, especially your older ones, grandparents. Let them know, like, don't go outside. And then the last thing too, with the extreme heat temperatures, if you plan on going out, stay hydrated, drink lots of water. Lots and lots of water. That's all for now. I'll catch you next week.
Thank you, Frank. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. Another episode of the Bret and Sean Show. And look, folks, we'll catch you guys next week back at the WBCR radio station at 1 o'clock. Take care, folks.